Welcome, dear listener, to the Secrets for a Happy Life podcast, born from my desire to share the knowledge I've acquired on leading a better life, interwoven with diverse experiences from my travels, years of studying psychology, and life lessons. I'm Petra Kmetec-Bitenc, your guide on this journey on rediscovering joy, productivity, and the essence of living a fulfilled life. Hi, Taida. It's really nice to meet you, to have you on this podcast. And before we start this really interesting topic for today, I would like to all tell you how we met. And I went to ICM, this is International Coaching Mastery with Alisa and Rubriga. And I met Taida here, and we are both from Slovenia, and that was a course from US, and yeah, we became friends.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting how the life is bringing us together on the same paths, and yeah, we can evolve together. So how are you?
Absolutely. Yes, just to speak to that, any international group that I go into, it's like, if I find one Slovenian, then I'm like, oh my God, there's two of us, because normally in bigger groups, you would have like bigger groups of Australians or I don't know, UK people, Spanish people, but we're not that many. So I'm always so happy when and I'm like, oh my God, another Slovenian person. So yeah, really, really grateful that we got to meet. And then we found out that we don't live that far apart, right? It's not like we're on the other corner of the country. We're like relatively close.
Our big country with 2 million people, yes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. But I'm good. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here, to see you in person. You travel so much. So when I get to meet you and chat with you, in 3D, it's always a special
Same. It's
opportunity.
Amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
Will you tell us something about yourself? What is your passion? What do you do currently? I haven't seen you for such a long time.
Yeah, so I am professional life and career coach, and I help people predominantly who are in a place in their lives where they feel lost or don't really like their career or their life, and they feel stuck. And some of those people know exactly what they want to do, but they're not doing it for whatever reason. And some of those people don't know what they're supposed to do, and they're looking for their purpose, but they know that something is off. They know this isn't how life's supposed to be like. There has to be more to life than this. And that's normally where they, when they come to me, and then we work together to really help them through that transition, on several levels, because for me it's also important not just to do the outer changes, but also so that they feel good on the inside regardless of what's happening on the outside. So that's kind of what I do.
That's really interesting. And when you were talking about those changes and the people who know what to do and they don't do it, I was like, Petra, okay, ask Taida a bit more.
Yeah, shoot. Go ahead.
Because sometimes, I was on a therapy and I had the same problem. So I said to myself, I'm gonna make IG lives like at least 3 times a week. And it's always, I must do that, and I never do it. So maybe I do it once in a month. But then I figured out for me, it's about gamifying it. If I gamify it, I put challenge, like this is a 7-day challenge, then I will do it every day, So how do you help people with those challenges?
Oh, I mean, that's an amazing question. And there's not an easy answer, because everyone's different and everyone has a different challenge. So normally we look at, where they want to go. What is the goal? What do they want to do? And then when we start to flesh out that vision, normally their own blocks will come up, and those blocks are very different for each person. For some, it may be, fear of change. For some, it may be fear of rejection or fear of failure, whatever those inner mechanisms are. And it's just normally, so I always like to say, there are going to be things in life where you're going to have a goal, you're going to have a project, and it's gonna, move smoothly. You're gonna do it, and there's gonna be goals or projects where it's not gonna be as smooth, and you're gonna want to make change, but it's just not happening. And I think an easy way to explain that is when we're trying to lose weight or trying to create a new habit. It's like we know what we have to do. Like we know what we have to do, right? But why aren't we doing it? And so that just really tells us that there's some unconscious stuff, something that we're not really aware of that's driving our behavior. And so we want to look at that for each specific person. And that's kind of the inside out work that I find extremely helpful. So not to just work on the habit change, because that's
Usually not
usually
gonna
not
happen.
enough. Yeah, it may help a little bit, but yeah. And so we really want to make sure that we set them up for the longer haul. I mean, I think that's the gift of coaching. And I know that you have experience with therapy. And for me, I mean, I also have a little bit experience with therapy. I always felt like I missed the access to the tools, because the relationship isn't as we're equals, it's there's a professional figure. They don't really share everything with you. They have their own, they're going to share a few things, but they're not going to share everything. But I think with coaching, it's just you really leave out of there and you're like, okay, I have some stuff in my toolbox now that I know I can use. Like I was just listening to your podcast on fears while I was driving here. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, amazing. If there's a person with fears, now they have very specific ways of knowing, okay, I can do this. I can do breathing. I can do, I know, tapping. I could do this or that or that. And I think that really helps build our confidence and resourcefulness, and brings us back into our power versus having to rely on someone all the time, And so, anyways, a bit off track, but
Yeah, I also think that the goal of coaching or even therapy is that you are capable to rely on yourself, that you know that you are capable of solving everything life throws at you, and that you are okay. Even if you make mistakes, even if you don't do it like you had in your vision, like perfectly, and maybe if it's not 100% as your vision, maybe it's gonna even be better, so not holding yourself back, not holding your dreams small, because we are capable of so much more. And I'm really thankful to you that you are doing this, showing this to other people, and guiding them on their way.
Thank you. Thank you. And, because what you said, I think it's so important, because there's all of this limitless potential within us. I think we're operating, I don't know the number. I want to say, like, if I look at myself, I feel like I'm operating at 10 to 20%. Like, really, I feel like there's so much more that I could do. And I see this with people that come to me as like the first step is always, a lot of us limit ourselves before we even begin. It's like we talk about a vision. So what do you want to do? And then it's all boxed in. And I'm like, okay, let's go bigger. What if you let go of those limits that you've set for yourself? Like if there's no limits, what do we do? And that starts to open up, those real desires in your heart. I remember when, years back when I was working in my marketing job, and I was like, oh, no, how can this be it? And I think this is why I'm so passionate about it, because I've been there. I know how horrible it is being stuck in a job you don't love, and also not being sure what next, because everything just seems so black and white. And, maybe you don't want to start from scratch and you're 30 and you're like, I've built this career. Am I really going to just believe everything? So it can be a really, really challenging time. And what was I going to say? I feel like I had a really good thought and now it left me. Just around the vision and potentials, to really, think bigger and just allow ourselves, and just having that dream in our hearts. And I know that I was thinking, now I got it back then, I was thinking, I really want to help people and I really want to write a book. And those dreams, they were so locked in my heart and they felt so big and impossible. Like it was sometimes even hard for me to speak it out because I felt like, but could I really do it? And then the moment you're with someone, and I think this particularly happens in coaching because we allow space for everything. And one of the qualities of a coach is that we trust, we believe in the person in front of us. Sometimes people tell me, "Oh, just the fact that you are there and you're not telling me this is impossible, you're never going to be able to do that, and that you're holding space and you have that belief in me, that has helped me so much." And so I think that's a really important piece, to just those dreams that we have in our hearts, and each one of us has something, to really let that out and verbalizing it, and because then it gets to unfold.
You have any techniques that you personally really love, that you say to the people, to your not trainees but clients, what to do? What's your go-to tool?
For what specifically?
For like maybe envisioning that their big dreams, and just getting in touch with what they have in their hearts. Because, for instance, I learned when I was little that my dreams will never come true, so I stopped dreaming. And I had to relearn that again, that it's allowed for me, that I can dream and I can make those dreams happen. I can make them happen. I don't have to rely on mom or dad or somebody else, but I can make them happen. And I think when we start getting awareness around our don'ts and do's, what we can do, what we must do, what we never can do, then our life starts evolving and we just spread our wings and we fly.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that, because that reminds me, I also had something similar, but for me it was for a different reason. I had stopped dreaming because I was afraid it's not gonna, or maybe it has a bit of a different tangent. I rather not dream to not be disappointed.
Oh yeah.
That was
a big
mine.
one.
Yeah. So I was like, I just won't have any dreams, and then I won't be disappointed. And then I realized at one point, and that was when I started to work with my first coach, I was like, but life isn't fun that way. It's just, then I'm just living. Then where's the excitement? I'm not working towards anything. I'm not allowing myself to be excited because I was so afraid it wasn't going to happen. So I worked through that. To answer your question, I think it's just about, I don't have a specific technique in mind for this, but I would just say, keep connecting to, if there were no limits, what could I, just that question, if there were no limits, if I could do whatever I could do, if anything were possible, what would I be doing? And another thing that I find really helpful is to really check the environment that we're in, because it's going to be, whether you're going to go for it or not go for it. Sadly, in quotation marks, sometimes the world, our environment, the people in our world are going to hold us back, or we're going to allow them to hold us back, because they're going to be like, that's not possible, that's not going to happen. And if we have those kind of people, it's going to be harder for us to make those steps. And so just to surround yourself with people who do believe that something else is possible. For me, that was a huge shift, just being in a field of possibility. I call it like a field of possibility, where there's people who are doing things I never thought were possible, and people who are, I remember saying to my friend, I don't know what we were talking about, I was like, well, why couldn't I be a millionaire? And she was like, why couldn't you be? Of course, like, why? And those are the kind of people you want to have around you, not the people, why wouldn't I be a millionaire? And they'd be like, you'll never be a millionaire. It's like,
because of this, that, and that.
That, and that. Like, that's going to be, because we need that support network. There are types of people who are just going to go for it and they don't care, and they have like an inner this driving force, for whatever reason, that they're like, I'm going to go, I'm going to be in action, I'm going to do, I don't care about what people say. But a lot of people do care what people say. A lot of us care, me included. And so for me, I know that was very important. And even now, I don't think I would grow as much, evolve as much, if I wasn't surrounding myself with people that are really supportive of my growth. And also, and this is what can happen when you're growing, when you're like, oh, okay, I have this vision, maybe I go for it, maybe I start my business or whatever that is. There's going to be people who are going to get triggered by that.
Yeah.
And those people may be your friends, they may be your relatives, and that can be tough. And I think especially then it's so important to have that network to be like, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not, it's like, people aren't just leaving me. There are people who are cheering me on and aren't really getting triggered by it all.
And that's so true. For me, happened when I went to Dubai, and we changed our friends there because we weren't in that home environment anymore. We got new friends, and they were also supportive. And they all achieved so much in their lives, and I saw them how they were cheering for us, and that was for me something totally new. Like, because before I said, okay, I want to do that, everybody, are you sure? Do you really want to do that? Because if you do that, then this and this and this. And like you were saying, it was a lot of obstacles. And I also didn't believe in myself so much because I had this underlying thought that I'm not okay, that I'm okay only if, But then we came in Dubai and everybody was, but you can do that. It's easy. Just go for it. And I was like, okay, I have the permission. Let's go.
I love that. This reminds me, again, one of those moments very similar to what you're describing. I was in Spain with a friend of mine. Again, she's also like, why not? That type of person. And I was telling her, there's this course that I may take part in, and it's in Colorado. And to me, I had never, even to this, like I have never been to the US. And for me, somehow the US, Canada felt so big. I don't know why it felt like such a big, when am I ever, kind of that type of thing. Or maybe later, maybe at some point. And then I was telling her, yeah, but that's in Colorado. And from Lindsay, her mastermind. And she was like, well, then we'll go to Colorado. I was like, oh my God, it can really be that easy if you allow it to be. Like, you can open up and not be about, oh my God, it's when am I ever gonna, but be like, okay, so how do we get ourselves there? Like, what do we have to do to get there? And that opens up a completely different region in the brain that starts to look for solutions, that starts to brainstorm, that starts to, get inspiration and ideas. And yeah.
That's really a powerful way to coach our clients, that they search for solutions, not for the obstacles. Because if you only see the obstacles, then you will never get to the end point where you want to be. So, but when you start, like you say, okay, what do I need to do to come there and to be there? Then, the whole world is just opening up, and
and
it's easier.
And it just builds that energy and momentum. And I think there's something beautiful as you're moving through, things that are challenging, and you're getting clarity, and you're just in movement, and it feels like, yeah, this is how life's supposed to be like. Yeah, I'm supposed to, especially because earlier in life, we have these mechanisms that help us move forward, like school, university. There's always like a goal in the end. There's like year 1, 2, 3. Like, there's always mechanisms that are trying to pull you forward. And then later in life, when we graduate, or depending on the work that you're in, to a certain extent, there may be more of it or maybe less of it. But if you're like completely left to your own devices, and again, that's why I say some people are like very self-sufficient. They're just going to go. Things are going to get done. But not everyone's like that. And some of us are like, whoa, what's going to pull me forward now? You know, who's going to see my potential now? Because we need that. We need those people. I need that too. I thrive much more if I have people who challenge me. I need to have people that challenge me, and I know that that's where I can go outside of my comfort zone. Otherwise, I'm just gonna, I tend to just hang out and then go a little bit and a little bit. But if someone challenges me, that's where I'm like, yeah, okay. And then it's so amazing on the other side of it, because you're like, oh, I did it. Yeah, I could do it. I could do it. Yay. So that's very exciting.
And also seeing when you are not happy. I think if you are happy, if you're okay with your life and you envision your goals like, okay, now I have the degree, I have my job, now I need my house and family and 2 kids and 2 dogs and I don't know, this and this car. If you're happy with that, bravo, But it starts to get a little bit confusing when you're not happy in this role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, we could talk about that too, because I think a lot of people struggle. And so maybe this is maybe like more of a Western, just the Western civilization or the world that we live in, where that is the typical expectations, right? And so if you deviate from that, it's going to bring up so much stuff. And I think especially if you don't fit into those roles, it can be tough. It can be tough to give yourself permission that you're different and that you want to live your life in a different way, and that maybe you don't want to have children, or maybe you don't want to go on that corporate ladder career role, and maybe you want to be an artist. I mean, there's so many people that are just those inner fights you have within you. But I'm supposed to be, I'm supposed to have that, I'm supposed to want that. But then in your heart you're like, but I don't see myself there, so what do I do?
Nobody said I'm supposed to. Who says that?
Yeah. Who said that?
Yeah.
Who said that? It's like, sure, my grandma said it, but who said it to her? It's like her mom, and then her mom. But it's not my truth. I think I'm lucky in the sense that I've always had this radar. I can't go against myself for too long or for too much. And like sooner or later, my antennas are going to go up and they're going to be like, no, you're way out of alignment here. And so I keep on coming back to myself, and I'm pretty like strict, because for myself, my grandma would still be like, ay, when are we gonna have grandkids? When are you gonna bring a husband home, or whatever? It's still the same, but I'm just like, grandma, I get it, but it's gonna happen if it's gonna happen. If it's not gonna happen, it's not gonna happen.
Don't force
right?
it.
Don't force it. So yeah, I would never, go into that and trying to satisfy other people and go against myself. I think I'm pretty clear there, but I know for some people that's harder. Yeah. It's more challenging, whether it's family dynamics, lots of stuff that feel like you have to please your parents, you have to please your grandparents, you have to be a good kid, you have to, do what's expected. And
I had that a lot with customers from Africa region and from India side.
Interesting.
Yeah, they had to be there for the family, and if family doesn't approve something, then you don't do it. Even if your heart's desire is that you should be pursuing that dream or goal.
Wow. I mean, and that just tells you how cultural programming and how powerful cultural and societal programming is. It's like you grow up in that part of the world and you deeply believe that this is how you're supposed to do things, and then you grow up in another part of the world and you believe that this is how you're supposed to do things. I mean, I think we can learn something from them. I think especially like the Asian part, I'm not so familiar with the African, you would be able to speak more to that. But from the Asian cultures, I know that that community, the family orientation, there's so much we can learn from that because we live so individual, yeah, as individuals here in the West. And I know that they can take some of this individualism and, so that there's a balance and it's not so extreme. One of my friends, actually, she's really, it's not sensitive to the fact, but she's noticing that so many of us, and she speaks about this, like, so many of us are islands. We work on our own, like the solopreneur or like, business owner, which is on one hand amazing because you have all this freedom.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, you don't have the community around you. And there's loneliness, and there's less support and things like that. And so she's really passionate about bringing that community aspect back and combining the two. It's like, yeah, you can be that, you can have your little solo thing, but, to still create in community or be in connection at a minimum, because it does serve us. I mean, I know how many times I get ideas from conversing with people. How would I get them just in my head?
You cannot. Yeah, maybe some, but I think we are wired for connections and that we need people around. We need communities, we need networking, and we are thriving if we let ourselves to be among people and not letting our fears to stop us, because it's so beautiful. Yeah, it's really
absolutely
beautiful. You were speaking earlier that you help people with transition from one job to the other. What do they usually do? Do they just quit and jump to the other job, or do they take maybe start with part-time job, or what is the most common thing?
Great question. I would say the clients that I work with take a more like phase in, phase out approach. So it's not like a jump from one to the next, but it is like, okay, let me phase this part out. And then for some, it may look like I'm gonna go down from 40 to 20 hours in my corporate job and start doing something on the side. And they stay in that job for a year maybe, and then they go full in on their business. I personally, from my personal experience now, I always let them do what feels good for them. For me, I got to a point in my job where it was so hard on me mentally, and because I was going through a burnout, if I just thought about the fact that I have to stay there for another year, I couldn't even think about that. So for me, I knew at the time, do you know what? I have some savings. I was like, bless me for thinking ahead, and I was like, I really need that. And I needed that because, if I'm honest with you, at the time, so I was working in marketing, and because when you're kind of in a bubble, when you're in a corporate world, you're in that bubble and it feels like that's all there is. And you forget that there's a whole other world outside. And so I kept thinking, in that bubble, they always talk about, well, there's two options. You either work for an agency and you make your way up the ranks, or you work, I mean, it's similar in any industry, to be honest. Like, even if you look at law, you can work at a law firm or you can be an in-house lawyer. You could work at a marketing agency or you can be an in-house in the marketing, right? So it's the same everywhere. And so, yeah, those are the two options. And I was like racking my brain, like, what? That's all there is? And literally for the longest time, I was like, I can't do this. I can't stay here if these are the only two options. And then again, I didn't know what else there was. Like, there were some seeds being planted. I had found out about coaching and things like these, but it was like, it was all very unclear. And so for me, it was so important to not jump directly into another job, to give myself some room to think and to find out what I really wanted. And that was, so I think my last work day was in November. by February, I started to work with a coach because I was like, I can't figure this stuff out on my own. I need to work with
It's hard,
someone.
yeah.
It's too like, what the hell? It's like too many things. And anyways, and so I know how much that helped me to organize my thoughts, to get to know myself better. Like through that process, I finally got back to myself, and I was like, okay, so this is what I like. This is what I actually like, not what I'm supposed to like. And
It's a huge one.
It's a huge one.
I think many people don't know themselves.
No, not at all. Not at all. And then they're like shocked why they feel so unhappy. It's like, well, you've built a life around things you don't really like or love, and you're so disconnected from yourself. And yeah, and then the other piece of the puzzle I think was helpful for me and maybe helpful for others was to be okay with the fact that I have to start from scratch, so to speak. And that's a big one for people that change careers, because kind of like I mentioned in the beginning, it can feel so daunting. Like you've put energy, you've put time, you've built a network of people in a certain industry, and then it's like, now what? Because for me, if I would go from marketing to PR, that's not a big jump. That's pretty, I want to say that's in the same neighborhood, or even from marketing to law. But marketing to coaching, I couldn't really take anything. I mean, now, sure, as a business owner, maybe some marketing principles, but I had zero coaching tools through marketing, zero training, zero professional experience. So that was something I had to learn from scratch. And the mind, trust me, did not want to start from scratch at all. Because I was like, well, I'm on the corporate ladder. I'm supposed to have X years of experience by now. And what about my CV? What about my CV? God forbid there's a hole in my CV. I know everyone was so at my job. And I don't know if this is in Slovenia, but in Germany, everyone's like, God forbid you have a hole in your CV. Like, that's the worst thing ever. People are not going to hire you if they see you have a gap, which is not true at all. I mean, sure, there definitely are companies who are going to be like, no, I want to see a straight line. I don't want to see any breaks. And good for them, that's who they're looking for. And there are people and there are companies and there are people in those companies that understand that life happens. They understand that changes happen, and that they actually value the fact that you stood up for yourself, that you went after what you wanted to. And so, yeah, that was my experience. So I want to say I more jumped from one to the other. I gave myself some time to transition. Now, for me, I want to say, or I would say my recommendation is whatever you do, just make sure that you're financially safe. Because if you have to worry about money, that causes such an additional layer of stress and pressure. And so that's always kind of what we lead, and we really set them up so that they feel, okay, I got this. So do I need to save money? Do I need to, what do I have to do in terms of financial planning? If I want to take a break, what does that mean? And so that they just have a bit more understanding, and that they know, because then then you don't have to worry about that part, and you can really just focus on you. And I think especially if you're changing careers and it's relatively similar, then the transition can be shorter. But if you're going from a corporate career to a business, and I mean, we both know building a business really takes time. And the expectation, I was just working with a client, and she was saying, damn, I didn't know it took so much effort to sign a client. And I was like, yeah. Not meaning it has to be hard, meaning there's a lot of energy you have to put out. Like, there's a lot of energy that needs to be put out first before people come to you. Like, and I don't know if this was your experience, but I know for me, I was like, that really naive and innocent. I was like, okay, now I'm going to start a business. And I'm just gonna have clients, and they're gonna
Yeah.
find me, and there may be like a few a month, but they're gonna find me. And then like the real world, I was like, okay, no one's sending me an email. No one's reaching out. I'm reaching out to people. No one's responding. I'm like, well, what the hell is happening? But I think every one of us maybe who doesn't have experience with business beforehand, because this was me. I didn't have experience with business. We need to go through that process and just to understand, oh, so this is how this works. And anyway, so for those people, I think having some sort of job, or even sometimes I find what's helpful is to change jobs, just staying in the same industry but changing to a job that's a bit more, a company that feels a bit better, or where you can do a position that feels a bit more energizing or is more aligned with your values and things like that.
And also new fresh people where you don't have conflicts with them or some expectations how they will react to something. It's also maybe helpful. But yeah, I really like that, because I was also naive in that sense. I thought, okay, I'm gonna make my website, I'm gonna put some ad on Facebook, Instagram, blah blah, whatever, and people will just call me and flood me with their messages. And yeah, nobody called. And then I was sitting with one friend, we were chatting, and I was just so desperate, telling her everything, how my heart is broken now and I don't know if I should proceed. And she was looking at me and she said, do you think that if you put 9 women together, they will have a baby in 1 month? And I was like, no. You're there.
Yeah.
It takes time.
It really takes time. And so that's where I find just having something on the side so you feel a bit more at ease, and you're like, and again, for some people, they're going to want to go fast, and some people are going to want to go slower. Me, I had 3 burnouts, and that really informed the way how I wanted to do business. So I was like, I really don't want to have another burnout. Like, I really didn't want that, because it was so tough. And once you have a burnout in your business and you're the person who's running your business, it's like the business doesn't run if you don't run. And so for me, it was just so important to find a way that works for me. And I'm still learning, but I always say, like, I'm in it for the long run, and I love the process, and I wouldn't want to do anything else. And it's exciting, and I never ever thought I was going to do anything entrepreneurial. That was so far out of my concept. I just always saw myself working, and then for a company, for someone else. But then, with coaching, it was like, for some reason, when I took my first training, I thought there's probably companies that, where you can get employed as a coach. And there are. I'm not sure to which I mean, you could be an in-house coach, or, all of these other things. But not like a marketing agency where they would just have like 50 coaches and they would do their stuff or whatever. And then I realized, okay, I'm going to have to start my own business. Like, it's not going to, that's how it is in this industry. And that's how I started. Like, I probably wouldn't have my own business if it wasn't for that necessity.
Yeah, and the good thing is that you are all the time saying that you need some financial stability, like something that you have, because I think when you act out of scarcity, then everything is forced and you don't have this clear path in front of you. You just want to rush through things, and you don't give yourself time and grace to just go slowly from one thing to the other. And this is really nice.
For sure. Yeah, I think having that, and also some layer, because also what I notice, and maybe this is important too, when we're left to our own devices, some of us can get complacent and can be like, I'm safe, and this is maybe more types that are similar to me, because I'm an Enneagram 4, and that's more but it's not so bad. Like, I don't need to go as fast. I can chill a little bit. And yes, there are definitely moments where you can chill, but there are definitely moments where, I could step on the gas a little bit. And so for me, that's where I was saying it really supports me and my growth if I'm challenged. If someone keeps calling me forward, like, hey, this is what I see, come on, I know you can do it. I know you can. And because especially fears are going to come up all the time, and the fear is what's really holding us back. And so that's where it's so important to have someone, that kind of pulls you through that, helps you through it, and pulls you forward. So yes, financial stability, and making sure you have that sense of accountability, whether through a coach or a mastermind or something where you're like, okay, I gotta show up. I gotta show up though, because like I say, the fears can be very, very convincing. And I see this all the time, even with me. I've done so much personal growth work, and still, I'm sure it's the same for you. Like we've done so much work, and it doesn't go away. It's still here. And it's like, okay, so how do I work through it a bit faster? And a bit faster. Yeah.
And having discipline and some structures and routines and all this stuff really helps.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think this is a nice way to stop. So do you have anything that you would like to say to our viewers and people who are listening to this?
I would like to say just trust that those desires and those wishes and the dreams that you feel in your heart, anything that it feels like, oh, I would really regret not doing that later. I like that, when you're put in a situation and you really have to reflect, is there something that, you're 80, 90 and you'd be like, oh, I really wish I would have done that. I never want to be in that position. And so I keep asking myself the question. And for me, a lot of times what came up was writing a book. So I was like, oh my God, that's what I'm really going to regret. And I know, that that's my priority, like a dream that I have. So if you have anything that you feel like you would regret not doing, trust that, because there's wisdom in that. And that just means that there's, you want to do it, but there's still something holding you back. And I think that's enough.
When can we expect your book?
Oh gosh, I am writing it. It's a little bit put on hold now because of different projects, but I'm now at a point where I'm like, there's a higher intelligence in charge of my timeline, not me. So I would say in the next couple of years, I don't want to put a date on it, but in the next couple of years for sure.
I'm looking forward. This is gonna be an interesting book. So
yeah, I'll come back and tell you about it if if you want to have me on.
Of course. Where people can find you? How do they can come in touch with you?
Yeah, so they can find me on my website or through my website.
I will put it in show notes.
Yep. Yeah. But let's not make it complicated. Website, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm most active on Instagram, and on my website they can find a bunch of stuff that they can download for free, just to kind of understand their purpose, or get more mindful and do some of that financial planning that we talked about before. I have an income planner that they can download. I think that can be a really helpful resource for people in transition.
Amazing. Thank you. I really appreciate you and that you came here today, and thank you really much, and wishing you all the best in your journey.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much.